Okay.
Hey, everybody, this is Josh. Welcome to Big Red Live. Tonight we'll be talking about the regional final matchups from North Carolina High School Athletic Association football playoffs on Friday night, previewing state championships this upcoming week, while also taking some time to recap and talk about the 2025 season as a whole. Join with me, as always, is Coach Tom Harper, Tim McMahon. How are y'all doing this evening?
Splendid.
Good, good.
Well, coaches, before we get into talking about Friday nights, we're going to take a moment to recognize our sponsors this year for Big Red Live. Our sponsors are sponsored, as always, by Countryside Barbecue, Blue 42, and B52s for the contest that we have each week for the scoreboard challenge and the pick'em polls, which we are grateful for them. And we will also be continuing those through basketball season. We'll have an announcement on that later in the live for tonight. But beforehand, let's talk about Friday night. Here are some of the Friday night scores from last Friday night. For the two-way side of things, you had Starmount and Murphy. Murphy beating Starmount 14-2. Tarboro over Warren County 40-0. In the 3A championship, you had Shelby over Lincolnton 30-0, and Kingston over James Keenan 30-7. In the 4A, you had Brevard over Maiden 30-13, Reidsville over West Craven 23-21. In the 5A, you had Hickory falling to Crest 39-21, and then you had Hunt over Northside Jacksonville 20-7. In the 6A, you had Watauga over Northern Guilford 43-42, and Middle Creek over Jacksonville 31-21. And then in the 7A column, you had Grimsley over Weddington 13-7, and Clayton over Cardinal Gibbons 35-32. Coaches, a lot of different games were played last week at different points in the week. You had some games Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Of the games that were played last week, what were the games that stood out to you?
I think the old adage that you can't beat a good team twice is exemplary of the Shelby Lincolnton game. I thought that would be more competitive, but the the cream rises to the top, and Shelby once again is going to play for a state championship. So that was one that I thought would really be much more competitive.
Yeah, they played such a good game the first time, and
Yeah.
Shelby has gotten better every week that I've seen. Even in the loss to Lincoln, they played pretty well. They didn't, they got off to a pretty rough start, and they were supposed to be one of the better teams in this area. People kind of forgot about them, and then you look up, but they've gotten better every week. They've improved. The quarterback's back to playing like he played last year or better. So, I don't know if it's sort of surprising that result Friday, but it's no surprise that Shelby's back in the championship game.
Amen. Another one that I was able to go to, I didn't have my partner there with me, but I watched the Crest Hickory game, and Hickory's a good football team, but that Crest football team, they have some speed personified, and you could tell it again. A very good football team, so they're really good.
Yeah. In the year I had seen them and heard a couple of coaches talking at Gaffney about how they thought the Crest team was the most talented Crest team they'd seen in 10, 15 years. And, of course, that's played out now. And I watched a lot of that game on TV on the highlights, and when they are fast. I knew that their secondary, that's a really good high school secondary. It's very tough.
And, Hickory had their chances.
They did. Hickory football team. That night, I think they just run into a buzzsaw.
That's right.
Don't take a good football team to beat Crest because they do a lot of good things. Their offense can throw the ball, but they can run the ball. Hickory, I think, seemed to lean more on the pass this year than I think they're probably used to. It seemed like it from the games I saw. And Crest was just a well-balanced football team. And the quarterback is a dual threat. He's not the fastest kid in the world, but he's big and he's powerful and he's hard to get on the ground. And I think they'll have a good chance to win that thing Saturday. But the game that I regret not getting go to, and I think they kept rescheduling, or is that Watauga game. I actually saw that game on the tape delay, and man, you talking about a good football game.
Oh, really?
Good
You
as
got
the
the chance to watch it?
Yeah,
It
as
was a
good
great game.
Northern Guilford game was, Tom, that we went to. This game was better. This game was. Oh, that was the Northern Guilford game. What game did we go up there and see, Tom? I'm losing my memory.
Sun
We
Valley.
watched
Sun Valley.
Sun Valley. Yeah.
Last possession game. And this game goes back and forth. And
So how did they finally win?
they missed they scored. It was 35-42. Watauga scores, goes to, gets it. And then Northern Guilford drives down the field and tips. I think I remember right. It's about a 29-yard field goal. Guy's got a good leg, and he pushed it right. He just didn't go through, and that was the last play of the game. It was a walk-off miss.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was one of those kind of games that since
I told you we should have gone.
I know.
I was there. I was there in person watching that game, and the one thing I have to give credit to is to Northern Guilford for not giving up in that game, because at one point in that game, Watauga went up 27-7, and Northern Guilford fought back and took the lead late. You know, they scored late, take that 42-35 lead with like 3 minutes to go. They had an opportunity to win it, despite being down 20 points in the first half.
How close was that field goal, Josh?
The field goal missed by about 1.5 feet. I mean, it was just barely outside the upright.
Outside.
It wasn't controversial. It was definitely outside.
It was definitely outside. It's not like it looked like it snuck in or anything like that. It was just outside the upright by about 1 foot.
I couldn't tell on the film. How long was it? How long field goal was it, Josh?
It was a 37-yarder.
27 yards. Well, he had the distance. I could tell he had the distance. I knew it was wide. Well, that's something else. How about that? Well, that was a great football game. I hate we missed that. You know, that was the East Lincoln Hickory game we saw was great. But the Sun Valley Watauga game was a heck of a football game. That's probably the second best game. And then if we'd have made it this time, this might have been the best game.
I'm trying to think. Were any of the games that we went to at Freedom competitive at all? They weren't.
They Freedom either won big or lost big.
That's what I thought.
Well, they didn't lose but one there, I don't think. Now that I think about it, but they didn't. There was no competitive games. Freedom had one competitive game during the regular season. That was at TC Roberson early in the season, and
yeah, that's one you went on your own. So
I went with JK. Yeah, they just didn't play. They didn't play very well that game, and neither did Roberson. It was not a well played game, but. Yeah, but that was kind of the way the whole year went around all the conferences. There's teams that were very good and teams that just really, really, really struggled to be competitive.
That East Lincoln Hickory game was exciting even before the game began because so many people there.
Right.
No, it was a fun game to watch.
It was. It's back and
Plus,
forth.
we were both so excited about. What's that number of that guy that plays defensive end and wide receiver?
4.
I can't remember, but they've got a player at East Lincoln that plays wide receiver and defensive end. Now, when have you heard that combination?
Whatever. And he's not hard to pick out.
No, sir. Gosh, God, he's good.
Well, we know walking into the stadium, and he was warming up. And I said, I don't know who that guy is, but boy, he looks like a player. He's like.
I remember you sitting down and telling me that.
Yeah.
Looking forward to some of the games that start tomorrow. The state championship games do start tomorrow, Thursday, December 11th. This will be at Keenan Stadium. For those of you that are going to the state championship games, the admission is $20. Tomorrow we'll feature
Get you some of that.
Tomorrow we'll feature the 1A and the 8A state championships, where Robbins will play Wilson Prep and Huff will play Millbrook. On Friday at Keenan Stadium, you will have the 6A state championship and the 7A state championship, with Watauga playing Middle Creek and Grimsley playing Clayton. I don't know about you, but if Watauga High School has school on Friday, I think that they should have half a day of school to let those people go down to the state championship. If not, just call it off.
I bet they will.
I think that whole that'll be they'll leave school.
Yeah. Well, you might be able to get into a restaurant now. Daniel Boone Inn, you can get in there and sit down immediately.
Well, you know what? That's a good idea. I might have to do that.
Hey,
I
guys,
think you should take advantage of that.
I got to jump. Hey, I've really had a great time this year. I got to jump off and take care of something else. And I apologize for having to leave early, but I've had a great time with this, Josh. And Tom, I'll talk to you real soon. I'll see you guys.
All right. See you, Coach.
All right, buddy.
See you, buddy.
I hope everything's okay. I love you.
Everything's fine. Got to go, though. See you, buddy.
Well, then, okay.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Talking about continuing with talking about the state championships. Saturday, the sites will be Moret Stadium at Lenoir-Rhyne University and Durham County Memorial Stadium. Moret Stadium at 11 a.m. You'll have the 4A state championship featuring Brevard and Reedsville. At 5 p.m. you'll have the 2A state championship featuring Murphy and Tarboro. And then at Durham County Memorial Stadium at 2 p.m. you'll have the 3A state championship featuring Shelby and Kingston. And then at 8 p.m. the 5A state championship featuring Crest and Hunt.
I got a couple comments about this. Number one, I'm really excited and glad that Moret Stadium, Lenoir-Rhyne, is hosting 2 state championship games because that stadium is deserving of an opportunity to host something like that. And I'm glad the association is taking advantage of that. On the second statement, to go from playing at NC State, East Carolina, Kenan Stadium, wherever, from going to playing at Durham County Municipal Stadium is a letdown. These guys should be playing at a bigger venue than a Memorial Stadium. And it's just, to me, it's just not right. I think that they should be playing. I mean, could LR have hosted 4 state championship games? I don't know. But maybe it's because it's a midway point for both those teams, and that's what all they had. I get that. But it's just disappointing to see. Back when I coached high school football, all the state championships games were held on Friday night and all day Saturday at Kenan Stadium. And as coaches, we could not wait to go and spend a night in Chapel Hill as a staff watching football all Friday night and all day Saturday. And to see that go away is just sad.
Well, Coach, I'll be honest with you. Before the realignment took place, I believe that the sites were still Kenan Memorial Stadium at UNC Chapel Hill. You had Wake Forest hosting state championship games. And I believe the other spot, if they did have another spot, might have been NC State.
It was. I was wrong about there was talk about East Carolina doing it at one point in time, but it was NC State, Wake Forest, and Chapel Hill. And those are big venues now. You know, those kids get excited about playing at those venues. It just feels like it just doesn't feel the same way to play a state championship game at Durham County Municipal Stadium. I mean, does anybody know where that? It's just not the same to me. It's just not the same. So
yeah,
I've given my 2 cents.
Yeah, when I first heard the locations of the state championships, my first thought was it's pretty cool that Moret Stadium gets to host state championship. But when I found out that some of the state championship sites down east would include, Durham County Memorial Stadium, I immediately thought to myself, I thought, they used to do NC State and Chapel Hill. I figured that, they might have been able to get those venues, but I guess that's a question that's above my pay grade.
Yeah, I know. And mine too. But I'm just pondering from years gone by how it was such a big to do. And I can remember you know, head coaches getting excited about being able to bring their kids, to a state championship game at Kenan Stadium. That was, and it helped a lot on recruiting. I don't know why they got away from it, but there's a reason, and I'm not privy to it. So it is what it is.
Well, Coach, as we get ready to take a look at some of the, before we take a look at looking forward towards basketball season, football season's finally wrapping up, and it feels like yesterday that football season started.
I cannot believe it's over.
Let's take a moment to talk about, the 2025 season as a whole. Obviously, we had the opportunity to cover some really good teams throughout the season. We had the opportunity to talk to many coaches throughout the area. Let's take a moment to just go into discussion of talking about some of the highlights of this 2025 season. And I'm going to just go ahead and throw the easiest one out there, talking about Watauga going to their first state championship in 47 years.
That is a wonderful story to talk about. Ryan Hobbick and his staff have done, and they've got players now. Let's get that out there right now. They have players, but not only does it take great players, it takes great coaching staff as well. And they have done an awesome job of preparing their kids week in and week out. And it's one thing to win. It's another thing to win some of the games they've won that just prove how gutsy and gritty they are. And that's something, as an ex-coach, you just love to see. Another example of doing a really good job is J.K. Atkins at Freedom. To go where he was his first year and to see how far they've come in their second year, there's nothing but excitement at the Freedom program right now, because he and his staff have done a really good job of building up what it takes to get to the next level. And I think those kids obviously are buying into that thought. So it's just a matter of time before they're even more successful. They have the players, and they've got the coaching staff now, and they're going to be fine.
Well, one thing I want to talk about is Jaden Angle and his staff down at Lincolnton doing an amazing job in getting Lincolnton into a Western Regional Final appearance this year. Coach, you told me about the passion that fan base has, and just how football tradition runs deep down at Lincolnton. Take a moment to talk about, what Coach Angle and his staff has done and what it means to that football community down in Lincolnton.
Well, it is a special, special place. The people from Lincolnton take great pride in not just football, but athletics in general. And, if you are from Lincolnton, you are considered family. And to see, I'm disappointed because Jaden got beat pretty bad at it, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was at his home place. So it was in his backyard that he got beat 30-0. But that loss alone is not reason to sing the praises of what Jaden Angle and his staff have done. He has brought back the glory of what used to be Lincolnton High School. It's been a while since they played to go to the state championship. And so now that they've had a little taste of it, I'm sure they'll come back next year with even more emphasis on let's move across the barrier and get to where we're supposed to be. I'm very proud of Coach Angle and what he's done. He's done a good job.
Well, on the and talking about some other programs as well, Lincolnton earlier that year played a very tough maiden squad, and that maiden squad ended up making an appearance in the Western Regional Final as well. Coach Byrne and his staff have done an amazing job with that group, as a team that won 8 games in the regular season, made a push all the way to the regional finals, and had some big-time wins on the road to get to that point.
I know I know Coach Byrne personally, and I know what it means to the Maiden faithful to go back to a state championship. It's been a long time since they played for one, and I wanted them to get there for Will and his staff because I know the time they put into it. And all coaches do. Don't get me wrong. They've done nothing differently. They just got to a point where they knew what they needed to do to try to win football games. And I thought, I'm telling you, that Brevard team has got to be really tough to beat Maiden like they did. So they're going to be back. Will be back. Coach Byrne will have them right where they need to be. And the glory again of Maiden High School has been reborn somewhat as well.
And we're going to stay in Catawba County and talk about another program that's also called the Devils. We're going to go from the Blue Devils to the Red Devils over at Newton Conover. Talk about Coach Matt Wilson and the job he's done. Last year, they kind of finished in the middle of the pack of the CVAC, and this year they make a push and finish near the top of their conference and host home playoff game. And they're showing some steps in the right direction. Coach, you've had the opportunity to talk to Matt Wilson earlier this year. What stands out about his program and how he and his program have come since last season?
Well, let's not forget that Coach Wilson is a coach's son. And so he has understood what it takes to be a good program for years, even when he was younger, because he saw it through his dad's eyes. And so he knows what he's got to do to build that program up even more. And that's what he's doing. He's putting in the time that is needed and the effort to make it a competitive program year in and year out. And this is a theme. He's bringing back the glory of Newton Conover when golly, who was the guy before Coach Basil? Dang, I know him right now. I can't remember his name, but Don Patrick. When Don Patrick was the head football coach there, they played for state championships probably every other year. And Nick Basil was always competitive in getting to a state championship. And now Matt Wilson has brought back that glory of what used to be Newton Conover. And so, again, very, very proud of what they've done. Another one that in Catawba County that we both agreed should be talked about is Coach Lohman over at St. Stephen's. Tell the people about him a little bit.
Yeah, Coach Lohman and his program over at St. Stephen's have been building over the past couple years. And this year, me and you had the opportunity of seeing them a couple of times. I saw them play against Freedom, almost pull off an upset against Freedom at St. Stephen's. And I saw them in their first round playoff game against Mount Tabor, in which the Indians would claim their first home playoff victory in 30. I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 34 years, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not correcting you. You know better than I do. But
I believe it's 34 years.
I've never seen a more competitive St. Stephen's football team ever. And I saw them when I was at Ford. I saw them when I was at Alexander Central. I have a lot of history with Newton Conover High School. With St. Stephen's High School. And St. Stephen's, for a long time, was looked at as that's the team we need to get for our homecoming game. It's not that way anymore. Kyle Lohman has brought them into relevance. They are very competitive to the point where, you better bring your lunch if you're going to compete against them. So I'm glad to see that happening because Kyle deserves that. His staff deserves that. His team deserves that. And the St. Stephen's community deserves that.
Coach, we're going to talk about another team and community that you are very familiar with, and you've had the opportunity of being a part of the community. Let's talk about Coach Ramsor and the Fred T. Ford Tigers. Fred T. Ford last year ended the longest losing streak in the state on the very last game of the season, and they carried that momentum into this season to birth their first playoff berth in some time, host a home playoff game, and get a playoff victory.
Well, once again, if you've not been a part of the Fred T. Ford community, you really don't understand how special it really is, because these people continue to show up and support Fred T. Ford football, Fred T. Ford athletics, and sometimes they know they're not going to win, but they're still there and they're still battling. And now that, Coach Ramsor has brought that team back to a lot of toughness and grittiness and competitiveness, it pays off for the community, because the community deserves that just as much as anybody. They've always been there and they will always be there.
Then lastly, the last Catawba County team I want to mention, talking about the Red Tornadoes out of Hickory High School, who appeared in their third consecutive regional final game this year. A lot of people counted Hickory out at the beginning of the year, saying that with their big graduating class that Hickory would take a step back, but the Red Tornadoes once again proclaim that they are here as they make another run at a conference championship for the third consecutive year, and they go all the way to the regional final game.
Well, you if you're not careful with people when talking about Hickory, you get spoiled a little bit because they've been so good. And when you talk about them losing the opportunity to go to a state championship, you kind of think, well, the season was not a success. That's not true. And we're talking about a unprecedented winning streak that they've been on. Joe Glass does as great a job as anybody I've ever seen, and has built that program into a competitiveness that is not only known in this area of North Carolina, but across the state. And so he's going to continue to make sure that they're going to be there. And I would not doubt him. I tell you that much.
Well, it's like to piggyback off what you said about, the fan base being used to these deep playoff runs. Any other fan base, if they were heard the options of your football team's going to win a state championship and make 3 consecutive appearances in the Western Regional Final, any football fan would take that.
Oh, no doubt. They'd jump all over it right now.
Absolutely, Coach. Last team I want to talk about, last coach I want to talk about, Coach Sam Mackey and the High Brighton Panthers. Coach Mackey and his Panthers weren't able to make the postseason last year. They were able to turn it around, be one of the top dogs in their conference, and be able to host a couple rounds of the playoffs, going all the way to the 4th round before falling to Maiden. This High Brighton Panthers team is no joke. They came basically a field goal away from being in that regional final game against Brevard.
Well, the key to anybody having success and being able to pat them on the back about that is what Sam Mackey did. Sam Mackey took a team that didn't play in the playoffs last year. How many games did they win?
I believe they won 3 games.
Okay, 3 ball games they won a year ago. And now they played to go to the state championship.
Well, the regional final.
Regional finals, right. That is the sign of a great coach, great program, great coaching staff, great administration, because they put him in a position, they gave him the opportunity to build that program back from 3 wins to regional finals. That's a huge turnaround. And so kudos to Coach Mackey and his staff for doing the job they do. And to all the coaches that we talked about, all of them continue to influence kids regardless of wins or losses. They're in it for the long haul. They're in it for the right reasons. And that's what makes them all very special.
Yeah, and obviously, if we wanted to, we could continue to talk about coaches from this area that continue to have a positive impact on their communities and on their teams. But we'd be sitting here all night doing that. I mean, we spent the last 10 minutes just spewing off just the handful of names that we talked about and, talking about their program and the impacts it has just on their communities from our observations and their personal experiences.
Somebody.
Huh?
We are probably missing somebody.
We're probably missing multiple people, to be honest with
but
you, Coach.
You can't mention everyone.
Absolutely, Coach. So to all the coaches that have had the opportunity to not only be on our show for the preseason interviews, but allowed to be here during the regular season, we really appreciate you for not only, allowing us to give your programs the coverage that they deserve and the exposure that they deserve, but being able to support us in return by giving us the time to do so. And that goes to you, Coach Harper. You give us the time every week to get on this podcast and talk to all these coaches and give us the coaches' insight and ask the questions about from the coaching aspect that even I can't even think of.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. And I thank you for giving me this opportunity, because you could have very easily said, no, I think I want to do this on my own. I don't really want anybody as sidekick, or I don't need any help. And to give us the opportunity to give our 2 cents about high school football and what everybody's doing and how they're doing it. But it's been fun getting to know you, because I now know you better than I did before because of this show, and I'm thankful for that. And your
Absolutely.
daddy, enjoy. I wish your daddy was on more, but I understand he's the man. He loves being the man behind the scenes, and that right there, kudos, great respect for that, because most people would want to be on this show giving their 2 cents.
Absolutely, Coach.
And I've always been good at giving my 2 cents, so I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, I know that that comes with the wisdom of Coach Harper. I know you got some good wisdom in you, so you give good wisdom every now and then. So
it sounds good to me. A lot of people think it's BS, and it might be, but it's my BS.
Well, you know what? Well, we work around it sometimes.
There you go. Good answer. Good answer.
Well, Coach, before we close out here tonight, what are your final thoughts on the 2025 season?
I think the biggest thought, number one, is I hope that we get to see a little bit more parity between the haves and the have-nots. I hope we get to see more competitive games and not just avalanches of wins versus losses. And that's going to have to be done by the coaches that did not have good seasons but have the players. They're going to have to develop some kind of rapport with them to get them in the weight room, build the program up physically and mentally to where they're more competitive, and at least not getting their butts whipped every week. And that is my biggest issue. But I'm excited about football. I'll be excited about it for the next 6 to 8 months for it to come back, because I'm not coaching anymore, but I love watching it and supporting people that I've coached before and enjoy going to watch them coach. I'm excited about what can be. So, and I'm excited about this. I hope you will ask me to continue to do it next year.
Oh, you already knew that. I already had the contract extension ready to give to you.
I
But,
know what their contract is.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll try to see if we could hook you up with more incentives, maybe like some Blue 42
No,
shoes or
I'm fine.
something.
I love doing what I do, and I appreciate you allowing me to be a small little part of this.
Absolutely. That goes the same thing with Coach Mack. I know he didn't have the opportunity to be here to see this, but if he does wind up seeing this, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for helping us out. Same to you, Coach Mack. I mean, ever since the first day we met you, you guys have been over backwards to help us. And, we're just glad that we can make you guys a part of this and have you guys be a part of this special project of ours.
Well, we're excited about it. We support you. We want you to be successful in what you're doing. And it only helps the communities that you're highlighting. It only helps them by making this get better and better.
Absolutely. Well, my final thoughts on the 2025 season just felt like yesterday when football season started. And I just want to take a moment to thank all the fans, all the coaches that have tuned in throughout the year to help out, and not only just sending in scores, but sending in pictures, being able to support us week in and week out. This live video show that we do every week, although it's on a Wednesday night, every Sunday night, it was great to see a good crowd returning every single week, wanting to hear us shoot the bull about high school football. I mean, it's great to see people starting to genuinely get drawn back and care in these communities about high school football, because it seemed like for a while that that genuine community interest in football was starting to fade, and then now it seems like it's starting to become stronger than it's ever been.
I'm going to tell you right now, I do not want to meet the person that says to me, I don't like high school football, because how can you not get excited about watching young people, compete on a high level and become better young men through the process? How can you not be supportive of that? Those coaches pour their hearts out to each kid that they coach. And I just think it is our job. It's our duty to support them in every way that we can. And that's what I'm going to do. And I know that's what you do by what you all do for high school football. You're putting it on a pedestal, and that's what encourages people. Love football. Even some people that don't love football don't know they love football, but they need to learn, because it's a great avenue for teaching young people. Absolutely. You better get me off my soapbox, or I'm going to continue to talk.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, before we close out now, it's been a great year, everybody. We appreciate you for doing this. Updates about Big Red Live. We are going to eventually transition into a basketball show where we're going to start doing basketball shows bi-weekly. So instead of every week, it's going to be every 2 weeks. It's going to be at Sunday at 8 p.m. like always. We're not set on a specific date as to when we're going to start yet, but we will have that information pushed out when we have more information on that. As for pick'em polls, basketball pick'em polls will have started and will continue throughout Christmas break and throughout basketball season. So for those of you that are still wanting to play the pick'em polls and the scoreboard challenges, make sure to check out our basketball polls and be able to participate in those. Those are just as fun as football, and it's just as easy. All you have to do is select a winner for the specific games for both women's and men's basketball games, and it's just that simple. I mean, who doesn't love having an opportunity to win a free gift certificate to go get something to eat? Am I right, Coach?
I mean, free and food are the best two combinations of words I've ever heard.
Absolutely, Coach.
And free and food is for me. I'll do it. So let me know if you've got someplace we're going to eat for free.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, finally, one more thing before we go out of here. This is the last thing I'm going to say. Thank you for a great 2025 season.
Amen.
I wish everybody a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. Don't know when the next live stream is going to be, but it's probably going to be next year. So until next time, everybody, happy holidays, and we will catch you guys next year. Bye-bye, everybody.
Merry Christmas.